So they made a copy of robots pretending humans, pretending to be robots, pretending to be humans.
So, by the way, Yoann, we're back with a new format.
Yay!
So the new format is actually that we're recording live. So the first 6 episodes was recording back to back, and now we're recording one episode, then we're streaming it, then we're waiting for your comments, then we're recording a new one with a follow-up section.
Yeah, so the whole spirit is to make this podcast more interactive, by adding in the feedback, the comments and the different points of everyone. And so we're gonna be crawling Reddit, Twitter. We need to do a better job at that. Gmail. So notdailypodcast.com or notdailypodcast@gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Did I say that? What did I say?
Dot.
Oh my god, I'm such a failure at emails. Anyway, but yeah, so what do we do about all the comments and feedback we received on the episodes we've already shot, Vlad?
We're doing a special episode of all the follow-up today. So this episode won't be a real episode, it will just be follow-up of the first 6 episodes. And that's pretty much it.
I guess, like, you know how we title the episodes with a question usually? Maybe this time the question is going to be like, what do we do with all of your comments? How do you catch up on the lost time of interactivity? Yeah, so starting now, you will be an integral part of the show, and
hopefully, if you exist.
Even more of a 3-way conversation than before. By the way, I meant to tell you that I trained a machine learning model on all the data I could get from my social network. It took me hours of training, but eventually it could learn to mimic a human brain. It was a fairly standard pattern, like you'd see in movies like The Guest or Van der Waals or Anyone by Judd Apatow.
Okay.
It may not have been exact, and it certainly wasn't subtle, but it was close. Like, given enough data, a model could learn to understand the semantics of a conversation.
Wait, are you actually reading what it's written?
Yes! So this part was written by the AI I trained. Good, because
that's amazing.
Judd Apatow, I don't think that's a real actor or director. Like, I don't know why.
Did you change something, or is it actually what it's written?
So this is actually what is written, but I picked among like a dozen of trials. And I did feed it the, by the way, I meant to tell you I trained a machine learning model, so that it's still like consistent. However,
what did you feed it?
So I've played around with a lot of different data sets, because right now it's super easy to do on Google Collaboratory. So I tried on my machine. It took one night. And it turns out that Google has that thing where you can run code online on their servers or like, I don't really know, in the cloud.
What?
And it takes like 1 hour or half an hour. So...
Is it free?
Yeah.
Is it only for Google Employee?
Yeah. So
for everyone?
Yeah, it's for everyone.
That's insane. Okay.
So I'll include a link in the description. And so I have a blog post detailing what I did. But essentially, I downloaded all my data from Facebook, Google, Tumblr, WordPress, and Discord too, so because of European regulations, I assume it's very easy to download a dump of all your data, which is really nice. Like within a certain time frame, like Discord took me like 1 month or so. Like they took 1 month to compile my data. And the TLDR, so the whole the article on my blog describes all the things I've tried, but the TLDR is that it doesn't do very great for conversation, no matter what I tried. It works really well with more constructed text, like my blog posts, etc. So it's the machine learning algorithm called GPT-2 that you may have seen in the news, developed by OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
And like that is supposedly the dumbed down version of the AI they didn't want to release because the texts were so believable it's dangerous or something like that.
I haven't heard that story. What's the story
really?
About?
So when they released GPT-2, they were like, oh, we had another version, but we won't show it nor release it because the texts it produces are too credible and it's really a a threat, I guess.
That is insane.
And even GPT-2 does pretty believable articles. Like, it's pretty nice at following a train of thoughts. I've been able to write a full short story using it, but it doesn't really have a point. It doesn't have like structure. I don't know. It's great at the micro level, but not that much at the macro level.
I mean, like, still.
Yeah.
Like, if you would read it without like paying attention to it, would you think that it's a human writing it? Even if it wasn't a goal?
Wait, it's more than that. Like, when I saw the output of this, I felt really weird because it really felt like something I would have written, like I had written long ago and forgot about or something like that. I kind of like felt that it was written by another me. It was like a bit weird. Very nice experience.
That's weird. It's so sad that I don't have that much data.
I think that it's I think it's really great at emulating a style. So it comes with like pre-trained on the English language,
Okay.
I think, and then you further train it to whatever corpus you want. The training is very simple. It just takes the TXT with lines, so it's so simple. And in this Google thing, you can feed it on Google Drive, so it's that simple. So naturally, my next step was to train it on other corpora, like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or Homestuck, or Welcome to Night Vale. It did some really cool stuff on Welcome to Night Vale.
Makes sense.
Which so it does really, really good imitations, which incidentally makes you question the whole concept of authorship. But that was a lot of fun. So I've been spending a lot of hours doing that.
Are you putting the text anywhere? Like, can we find the text anywhere?
So I made a Tumblr called Yo252Yo-A, just like the robot in Caprica, Zoe A, where I use the tag to say what corpus I trained it on. So if you want to read some fake Douglas Adams or fake Andrew Rossi or fake Welcome to Night Vale or fake me, I guess, you can go there.
So wait. So it's tumblr.com.
Yo252yo-a.tumblr.com.
Because Night Vale is so weird, like, I'm not super surprised that it works well with it. Like, I mean, you're never truly alone if you believe in a benevolent government can very much be something that you hear in Night Vale.
Yes. So, like, it has a personality that the neural network picks up on, which is pretty nice.
I love the Night Vale one.
Yeah, the Night Vale one is probably my favorite. On the Homestuck, I didn't have much success because it's mostly conversations and it doesn't do well with conversations. And on Douglas Adams, it mostly was producing like bits of novels, essentially, like bits of dialogues, but without any context. So, yeah, so it produces great stuff, but if you have a human eye to keep an eye on it, and like if you pick the best out of it, which is a bit cheating, I guess.
I mean, like, I don't know. It makes surprisingly a lot of sense.
I would like to say thank you to this episode's sponsors, Hours. If you're looking for a precise way to quantify time, but the rotation of your planet is too damn slow, why not consider Hours? This award-winning arbitrary subdivision will offer much more expressivity than days or months. Hours, a time unit at your scale.
So in the first episode, we talked about Google Home and what is the best rating system. And I have a very good comment from Florian, who told us from a very computer science perspective that this problem has a lot more depth and complexity that we were not mentioning because it depends on a lot of hidden axioms. So like, what do you know about your inputs? From a computer science perspective, what kind of complexity and memory do you have available? And so we wanted to give a rating in one go as soon as we have a data point. That was a hidden assumption. But in computer science, often you'd have like, let's say you give an approximate rating and then you re-rank the whole thing. And so you can have two passes on your data. And so the actual conceptual problem of rating is even bigger. But based on our assumption of not knowing anything about the data and doing like kind of one-to-one comparison, this is exactly, so he was saying that this is exactly what the Elo system was doing, which is very flexible because it doesn't know anything about the data, but slowly converging, because I mean that's the price you have to pay for this flexibility. He was pointing out that there is actually an artifact that through time, for example in chess, the chess average Elo is growing.
Yeah.
So,
but the thing is, like, it's completely different though, because there's always like multiple paths.
What between what and what? What is different?
Because like what we were trying, like, because we said two things during the first episode, if I remember well. The first thing is like it needs to be one go because human beings are lazy as fuck. So we run into that issue of like, yeah, but like you need then to like rate the first copy, for example, again. And we're like, yeah, but like no one has time to do that. So I don't think it's the same thing. And second thing is the Elo system works when you want your rating to be continuous in time, meaning you're rating a player or like a user or something against someone or something, but like in time, meaning it will change. So like you actually have like a lot of like comparison points for the same. It's not a one-to-one comparison. It's a one-to-one comparison at instant t, but like it works because it moves in time.
Yeah. So, because you get more data points through time.
Yeah.
So I think what the comment was saying is that there's actually a way bigger space of possibilities that if you're not a human being you can explore, but for the purposes of human beings rating their to-do list, I think we did fine. And so he was closing by saying that he would love to find the time to work and find a rating system that can detect anomalies, so converge rapidly or something like that, to avoid in, for example, StarCraft 2 or esports, when people make a new account, a Smurf account, so that they're not ranked as low but directly as high, to avoid this kind of abuses which are prevalent in online gaming.
But I never understood, like, I know that like in gaming it's quite like a normal issue, like in every game that like has a rating you have that issue. I never understood why though. I don't understand the complexity of it. Like if the guy win like 5 parties in a row very quickly, then like you just push him. I don't.
Yes, but you push him at the top of the noobs essentially, because you don't want to put him in the Grandmasters leagues right away.
Yeah, but then it's gradual. I mean, like the first 5 parties needs to be a bigger like a bigger like learning ratios, and like the next 40. I mean, you win your first party, you go like 1,000 points, whatever. Then you win your second party, you go 2,000. Like you lose.
Then you're very, very subject to randomness flukes. If you have a cold or if you sneeze in the middle of the match, then your whole career is ruined.
Not really, because your like your learning ratio is the same for the first like 5 to 10. I don't know, like 10. I don't know, you can change that via the data.
I understand that they have to be very conservative because the gaming community is not the most forgiving one.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, they could try. That's what they're doing in Overwatch. No, you have like your 5 placement party.
And everyone's complaining about Overwatch placement games. That's the most famous meme in Overwatch.
Because it's bullshit though. Like you can win, like I don't know the algorithm, but you can win your 5 party and like still be, and like you can lose your 5 party and still be a good player because it's not a 1-to-1 match. Why? But like if it's 1-to-1, then it's a bit different.
So I think it's a whole area of mathematics research that is probably very tough to crack, right? And pretty different from what we are doing. So
I mean, like it can still apply a bit. Like I mean, when you're a teacher, like the first, like you have a mental model of each of your.
You're gonna make a placement tests for your students, and you have the league.
But that's exactly what you do, though. Like the first homework that you give, like just to have an idea of like where they are.
Should we move on to second topic?
So episode 2, Surface Go and what is wrong with USB-C, #tech. Miryuko wrote, Miryuku, what, I don't know, weird pseudonym. web pseudo write that like it's way more complicated than we said. That actually there's a number of USB-C 3 generations. So USB-C 3.1, USB-C 3.0, USB-C 3.2. And I think, I'm not sure it's the same person, but like there's also something about Thunderbolt. So first on USB 3.3, 3.2, 3.3. So I think like we kind of talk about it just a bit, but basically, so I've read the Wikipedia page.
Okay, so you come fully prepared. You've dived into this comment.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is happening there?
That's nice because I didn't.
Yeah, I guess so. So I read the thing and it's actually completely fucked up. So you have like, at the start, USB 3.0, which could be different things. So like there was voltage / ampere, it could be two things, I think. Don't quote me on anything that I say. And like it could also be two different like speed of transfer. Then they were like, okay, that's not good enough. We're gonna put USB 3.1 with like the different generation. So generation 1, still 4 different kind of like ampere and transfer. And then they added, I think it's 3.1 where they added that it could be Thunderbolt or not. Generation 2, same shit, but like without different voltage. And 3.2, you could think that they were like, maybe we should standardize that shit. No. It's way worse now. There's like 4 different speeds, I think. Like an insane amount of things. And like it doesn't make...
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. You have USB 3.2 Gen 1x1, Gen 1x2, Gen 2x1. Nice.
Yeah. So, and like, I don't understand what the fuck is happening there, actually. Like, I just... like, meaning like the only difference between generation 1x2 and 2x1 is that like it can be like because like USB 3.2 is not the same thing as USB-C. It can actually be
right,
USB
because
A
the letter is the shape of the port and
yes. So like it actually means nothing, except that for each generation, you have always like a better version that can only be USB-C.
The version plus. Do you think there's anyone in the world that understands all of it?
I don't think so, but like I don't understand like what the fuck is happening. Actually, like I don't understand.
How do you get to that point?
Yeah. Exactly. Like I mean, can't you just say like the standard is that shit? Like let's do that shit. Like, and then like the worst part is like you never know what you're buying.
Yeah. So in the episode we were talking from the consumer point of view, right? Saying that the consumer doesn't have any idea, and if even by digging we don't have any idea.
But like you actually can't have any. No, but like the worst part after that is like Thunderbolt, because Thunderbolt. So I thought it was only an Apple thing. So I checked it a bit online after like that comment. I was like, okay, let's check a bit what it is. It's actually Intel and Apple that invented the shit. And then like in 2018, it's completely free of use. So anyone can use it. It's not like linked to Apple anymore. And actually like PC has it now. Like I think this new Surface has like a Thunderbolt like port. Thunderbolt is as weird as USB. Like there's like multiple versions, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, the fourth one is coming. It can be different shape. So again, it's just a standard. It's not like a shape of wire. And now they're linking. So that's because of Apple. They're linking USB-C with Thunderbolt. And the problem is you can have a USB-C screen that is like 4K, but USB 3 or 3.2 doesn't have enough speed to actually do the 4K. It can only do that if it's Thunderbolt.
Okay, well that's good for the consumer point of view, right? That it's a symbol thing to check.
No, because it's not written
if it's
anywhere.
Thunderbolt or not. Yeah, okay, but it's still less confusing than Gen 1.2.5x2.
No, but like the problem is like you can buy a USB-C cable, put on your screen, like that costs $2,000 because it's 4K. And not having like it working, but not having 4K just because of your like €5 cable.
Yeah, as a consumer, it's as a informed consumer, it's easier to check if it's Thunderbolt than check if it's Gen 2.5.
I actually wouldn't have an issue with it if everything was standard. Like, meaning if the cable was standardized. Like, meaning USB-C 3.2.B is like the blue cable. 3.2 is like the red cable. If it was color coded, it would be kind of fine.
Color coded. It would already be a mess, but it would be a manageable mess.
Exactly.
Because you have the cable that does that.
But now that I know that you can have USB 3 in a USB-A cable, like, I'm a bit mind blown.
I guess that's what happens when you have a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of different use cases and you try to make something that pleases everyone, right?
So I thought, for example, the Yeti cable was shitty because it's USB-A, but maybe it's a USB 3 USB-A cable. I don't know.
Okay, so I saw another comment on the subreddit that offered sympathy for the loss of the audio jack, but somehow for the audio jack they managed to do something tolerable.
Ow.
Didn't they?
What's tolerable with the
Like, isn't that always the same cable, always the same connector, and always the same expectations?
So first, not really. I'm not super into audio. First, there's different size of audio jack. So like there's 2.5, 3.5, and like the big one.
Yeah.
So first, like for example, this fucking headphone have a 2.5 thingy in, and out is a 3.5. So you can only buy this like weird wire that you can't find anywhere. And then, like, I'm not sure because that's very, very expensive jack, and I'm pretty sure that it does something else than like the normal jack.
I think what happens with jack, it's all analog, so the quality of the signal depends directly on the materials, probably.
And also, like, usually in high-end audio MP3 player, like FLAC player, you have like something else, like a DAC, it's called, I think, which like decode, like the decoder of what the jack input does is super important because it's not like it needs to be transformed. So even if the plug is the same, what's behind the plug is super important. But yeah, like anything would work on your phone, maybe not at the best capacity, but if it plug in, you will have sound, which is like still something. I mean, I think everyone hates like that, like there's no audio jack anymore. I mean, who cares? Like actually, like I'm pretty sure that actually what's happening is like no one, like if you do market research on it, no one would care. Like if you actually ask the question, like do you use a jack?
Well, it's based on that they take this decision. I assume that they check that the market would allow it.
And they were right. I mean, I don't know. Like I have Bluetooth headphones since forever now, like 6, 7 years. So I'm like, doesn't change anything. Like I have a jack on my phone now.
Oh, and for this episode, I also have a little erratum from MutoQ2 that I think, talked a lot about voltage or whatever. I don't remember. Like the whole point of this podcast is that we're never going to be precise, but yeah, I don't remember what unit I used, but we were talking about how I compared different chargers, and what I actually compared is the volt times intensity in amperes, the power you get. That's the go-to comparison metric, because the number of volts doesn't mean anything if you don't have the number of amperes with it. So apologies if I was unclear, but that's gonna happen a lot.
we should really rename that podcast Don't Quote Me.
Don't quote me.
Like I think it's a better
Don't
name.
quote me, but so in episode 3, we have a little less to talk about, I think. It was Terrace House and what is the balance of cringe. I heard some pretty good feedback about people liking this discussion about cringe. Anecdotal, but nothing very meaty as far as comments go, except one friend who told me that the description of the episodes that we put on Reddit or Twitter are pretty cringy in themselves, which I completely agree. And I wanted to have your opinion on that, because when I do any kind of like artistic or production thing, I always kind of like try not to think about it. Otherwise, I get super self-conscious. And because it's taking yourself way too seriously. So when we do the podcast descriptions, you kind of have to, by the format, take yourself seriously, saying, "Oh yeah, we talked about blah blah blah," even though it feels so unnatural, right? It's the format that you have to follow. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
First, I think that like the hashtag is super cringy. I hate the hashtag. Like, so first, like I would remove this. Like, I don't think like we need that. And then,
Okay, we can think about it, but let's stick to general discussion.
and then like the actual naming.
He was talking more about the description than the naming, right? Like, oh, Vlad and me talked about, like, oh, this time we talk about this thing. Like, it was like Yoann introduces his new Surface Go.
I mean, what could we do though? But I mean, like, it would be weird to do it other way. Like,
Yes, exactly. But it's still third person alert.
I don't feel it's cringy. Like, I think we can do a better job. Like, they're not the most perfect description ever. But I think that, like, we need to talk about ourselves in the third person because from the exterior, like, we're not speaking. It's just a description of what they're gonna listen to. So I don't think it's cringy. It's just, like, the
But
format.
vis-a-vis
And
the whole discussion we had in this episode, do you think that we're taking ourselves too seriously? Like we were talking about the fact that cringe kind of comes from the gap between the expectation of the author and the actual result. I think when you try to take something seriously, you're always potentially prone to cringe. Maybe if the people don't take it seriously. Is that a strong statement?
No, I agree. I completely agree. Like, if you take something seriously and everyone around you is like, what the fuck? Like, that isn't a joke. Like, obviously, it's cringy as fuck. I don't think we are... Like, because obviously the description is linked to the podcast. And I think it's kind of like the same kind of tone. Like, the podcast is not super serious, but it's still a bit serious. Like, we're still talking about, like, subject. Like, we're just not, like, bantering, basically. So, like, we're actually talking about a subject. So, it's a bit serious without being, like, hardcore, like, philosophy. And the description is a bit serious as well, but, like, with a bit of a joke. Like, I mean, it's quite, like, the same tone.
This episode is brought to you by microphones. If you're tired of the sound waves you're producing, dissipating and going to waste, why not try microphones to transform them into analog or digital signals that you could store or reuse later? Since I've started using microphones, I can enjoy my sweet, sweet waves over and over again.
Let's go back to episode 4, Cat Toys and Why There No Pokemon Go Copycats.
So what happened there?
What happened then? So in the meantime of episode 4 from now, like 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a while ago, a lot of games actually came out or has been announced. The first one, the biggest one, is obviously Harry Potter Go. So I've played it a while. Not a while, like 1 week. Not even 1 week, 3 days.
I've tried it too.
It was a very boring game. What they tried to do, I think, like, so it's the same company as Pokemon Go, if you didn't know. Like, mostly the listeners, I think you know. And, like, it's pretty much Pokemon Go. So you need to collect events that is happening in the world.
It reminded me of the stickers you collect as a kid. I think you collect stickers.
Exactly. Like, you collect stickers of events. And the only thing that is really different is, like, during the event that is happening in the world, like, you can do a bit of a different shit than just, like, throw a Pokeball. You can, like, do different sorts.
Like, your gameplay is a bit different.
Yeah. But the end goal is the same. And I don't think it is working with Harry Potter at all.
Yeah, it's the end goal, like you said, the same. It's actually pretty different, right? Capturing Pokemon is way more enticing than capturing Harry Potter stickers. Or I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me to capture Harry Potter stickers.
But like, I don't understand because like there's actually good thinking sometimes. Like you actually have like what they call dungeon, like where you have like group events where like stuff is happening. And I think it would have been way more interested to actually go completely, because like there's some RPG element to it. Like you can have a level, you can like choose different skills. and go deeply in that RPG thought and not going at all into the collect the event stickers.
Collection mode. Well, I have good news for you because so what happened is between this to prepare for this specific follow-up, I Googled on Google Play GPS games and I tried them all. I do that every couple of years.
Okay.
And there is one that's exactly what you're describing, which is called Magus, I think. So you go in the wild, you find equipment, you fight beasts. It's more like an MMORPG, and you level up. And there is PvP, but I guess since nobody's playing, because it's not Pokemon Go, people don't kill each other. But that's really like Harry Potter Go, but step up, where you actually do the MMORPG stuff instead of doing a sticker book. So you could check that out. I played it for a little bit, but then I dropped it. Like I dropped many of these games I tried because look, so most of them are buggy and not stable at all. But the ones that are not don't really appeal to me because the thing that my main complaint is that they treat each location on Earth as the same essentially. Like they are evenly distributed on the surface of Earth, which kind of defeats the purpose for me. Like I want a reason to go out and to go far, so that I get something different from next to my house. And none of these games do that. So I've seen a lot of collection games like Harry Potter Go and Pokemon Go. So there's one I'm still playing called Resources. Basically there's like 10, 20 different minerals and you scan to see which of them are in your given spot. And you can mine them, and then you go somewhere else and there's different minerals, and some of them are rarer, and then you produce stuff from the minerals and a kind of tech tree. And everything is linked to a global marketplace, so the different resources go high and low, so I'm stockpiling on clay until I can sell it. It's okay, I guess. It's not the best game, but it does the job. So it's my favorite so far.
And how does it use location?
So it uses location because at any location there is I think randomly distributed resources. And for instance, down my street there is sand, and up my street there is coal, and at my house there is nothing. So it's one of the rare games I've seen use the real world as actually a competitive resource. Pokemon Go, we talked about it, how smart it is to have this asynchronous battle that doesn't cause any actual fights over the shared resource that is the world. Well, some games embrace it and can because of their small user base.
I'm actually downloading right now Resources just to see what's the fuss. Quite excited about it, to be honest.
Well, I don't think it's the next big thing, but I've been pleasantly it's one of the thing I thought to myself is that there's actually not a lot of mobile games that embraces depth, right? Most mobile games want you to play on the subway a game in 10 minutes, so they're like very simple. So I think that's what throws me off about... Well, that's another factor that throws me off about this kind of GPS-based games.
Yeah. I feel like augmented reality is coming more and more. And I think there will be, in less than 2-3 years, an actual hardware for it. And it might be why... And when you see Minecraft, it's Microsoft that do a lot of AR already. And Minecraft Earth is really about a mobile experience. It's not about HoloLens at all. It is, but it's not. So I feel like there might be a hardware coming in.
So in episode 5, we talked about new microphones, and what was the universe optimizing for. And I think we essentially managed to scratch the surface and present the topic and not go deeper. We had a nice conclusion, but so the point is there is a lot more to say about it, and we will certainly have a series, at least one episode, but I have a series of ideas for maybe a whole series on it, so
yeah,
stay tuned, and we'll not address it now.
Makes sense. episode 6.
This brings us to our last episode to date, where we talked about Bandersnatch and how to manage our to-dos. And the main comment I've seen by far from people talking to me directly is, why the fuck are you emailing yourself? So I spend a lot of time thinking about this and because I do that, and it does seem stupid and unnatural when there is actual products like Google Keep to do the exact thing I'm doing. But I'm gonna tell you that I have a good reason for it, and I stand by it.
Okay.
Why do I email myself? It's so that I have a central place of storage to do this triaging phase that I check impulsively, compulsively several times a day. So it's a high bandwidth, centralized place to do my triage step. I need a triage step between all my different storage systems.
No, that makes sense. But I mean, like, doing your email... Okay. Like, doing your email is one to-do action.
No, it's not. That's the thing. It's part of my life. It's as compulsive as people checking their phones, their notifications.
The thing is, I can't argue with that, because the thing is, like, if you do everything on a to-do, like on a big, like, OmniFocus, like a very complicated to-do system, you can feed anything that you want in it, okay? But, like, you won't check it compulsively because you have, like, there's no there's no excitement of, like, what is there? Like, because, like, you know what is there. So, and, like, the thing with email, I think why you're checking it every, like, hour or something is like because you have the same excitement as in like social media, like you don't know what is there,
and there might be stuff, they might be important stuff, and you just make it part of a routine.
Yeah, exactly. So like I can't argue with that fact. I still can argue with the fact that like in Google, you use Gmail or you use something else?
Gmail.
So in Gmail, you can have like your Google Keep next to it or your Google Calendar next to it, like in the same window when you open Gmail. And I think you could use that. Or Google Task even.
No, but so I want to have this triage phase because that's the part where I decide what's urgent, what's not urgent, what's long-term, what's not long-term, what goes where. I want to... my whole system is predicated on the fact that I store things and index them smartly.
So if you used a specific app to do that, your worry is that you won't check it out.
It would need to fit conveniently in my workflow, so easy to input, easy to check. But mostly, it would necessarily be a new step in my routines because I'm already checking my emails and I have to keep checking my emails.
Yeah, but the thing is like right now, like you use more cognitive resources when you're checking your email because you can have something to triage, sometimes you don't. So like you need to think about that, and it kills your workflow about checking your email because there's something to triage, so you need to think about that thing.
It's really not that much cognitive load.
Maybe there would be less if you have another thing.
Well, it is when you actually do the triaging, but if you just check...
Yeah, but like if you had a habit of check... Yeah, okay. No, but I see your point. It just like clearly it can't be the best way to do that.
For now, we should call it a day.
Yeah, so bye.
So bye. Now, these were all the episodes we have so far. And so we want to hear more from you so that we can say more to you. Check us out on Reddit at notdailypodcast.com, on Twitter /notdailypodcast, and notdailypodcast@gmail.com. Or anywhere else you find us that I'm not aware of. In reviews, leave us good reviews on iTunes and stuff. And we'll read all of it and answer starting next time.